Hey guys, and today Shorty and I are going to do a bit of a wrap up for the second week of the trade period. It's done and dusted now, mate, at long last.
Took a while.
Yeah, it's like the oath it did. So, yeah, we're just going to do a bit of a wrap up, what the main things sort of happened, and yeah, the big names and all the good stuff. So,
Yeah.
we'll start with Paddy Ryder. He's gone to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide given up picks 17 and 37 for them. What are your thoughts, mate? Who wins here?
Yeah, well, on face value at the moment, I think Port Adelaide probably win because he'll be a great asset for them, alongside Lobie and that. He's not an outstanding A grader by no means, but he'll be very beneficial to Port Adelaide, I think.
I just think he is.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
But
yes, the but is the Asada stuff, which we're not going to go into.
No, don't want to go there.
But if he gets a ban for 2 years, well, that's pretty much pointless, which is likely, or at least some form of ban, because they've been reissued or issued or whatever they've been doing. But on face value and what we know is happening right now, them getting Ryder for 2 picks, which Essendon, as they do, haggled pretty hard.
Yeah.
But they got their man, and it'll be good for them, I think. A step forward, because he's pretty handy up forward as well.
Yeah, they played hardball, and he could be a perfect acquisition for them because they only have really Jay Schultz up forward as the big target.
Yeah.
Butch hasn't quite come on.
No.
Showed exciting, signs a few years ago.
Yeah, but he lives up to his name. Butchers the ball.
Yeah, no, he's got the most weirdest kicking style, but we won't get into him because it's not about him.
It's not.
Next trade up was Tane Beams, and boy, oh boy, wasn't there plenty of controversy about this. Pies, although had him, but he's gone to Brisbane like he wanted to for Jack Crisp, and also pick 5 and pick 25.
Yeah.
Who wins here?
Yeah, you'd have to say Brisbane win that when they get an A grader. He's probably top 10 midfielder in the comp. You'd have
Top
to
10,
say.
top 20, yeah, you go thereabouts. Yeah, he's a gun.
He's right up there. I mean, I think who wins this will be probably dependent on Crisp, because he's kind of that. He's a handy player. He's shown some good signs. He's a good height. He's good athletically. But if he fails and is delisted in a couple of years, then there's a pointless add on to those draft picks. Yeah, where if he can become a player, well, you'd have to give it to Collingwood because they'll get a class act of 5.
Yeah.
And 25, is a pretty handy pick just after the first round. So, as far as who wins this, it would probably be dependent on Crisp in the future, but an immediate win to Brisbane, who get a fantastic midfielder and another one that we'll discuss shortly.
Yes, for sure. I feel like Chris will probably be similar to some of the players Collingwood have had in the past, like, who comes to mind? Probably Jordan Russell.
Yes.
Yeah, he had so much promise and he was pretty good at the Blues in 2011. Obviously, he
Yeah.
hasn't quite come on since, and I'm pretty sure he's still listed anyway, but
Yeah.
I just feel like he'd be one of those players because Collingwood's depth, I mean, it was really tested this year, but I just feel like he'll be one of those players that sort of gets pushed in the background, behind sort of, a couple of their star midfielders, Pendlebury, and can't even think of the GWS player that came to Collingwood. Who was it?
Taylor Adams.
Taylor Adams, that's right. I couldn't think of his name. I knew
No,
who it was, but
he probably won't be pushing anywhere near the top 10 or 12 players, but
no, that's right.
if he plays senior footy, then
He'll be happy?
Good. Yeah, they'll all be happy.
Excellent. Alan Christensen's deal's been finalised, and pick 21, as it's been documented, he's gone, and pretty simple here. Who wins, mate?
Yeah, the Lions win that, no doubt. I mean, 21, gee, we love Bundy. It's sad to see him go, but he wanted to go, so what can you do?
Yeah.
You sort of look at him as a next generation player for us. That won't be the case anymore. That'll be the case for Brisbane. 21 on-traded, obviously, which we'll get into. But yeah, you probably feel, I think we touched on it last week, but he might have been slightly better than 21, but considering what Brisbane have and where it all fell in the draft order, that's as much as we could do. And
injury.
Yeah, so that's how it all ends up, and he'll add another string to a really fantastic midfield that Brisbane possessed for 2015.
Very scary. Rockcliffe, Christensen, Hanley, Beams, Redden, Zorko. Rich is another one.
Yeah, and Asian Taylor's
the young ones coming through. Oh, gee, I think I've got the best midfield in the competition, to be honest.
That's pretty deep. Couldn't say on paper it probably is at the moment, but they might take a little while to string it all together. But once they do, every Pretty tough to say you're wrong there.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Bit of a three-way trade with Melbourne, Collingwood, and Geelong. Barco went to Collingwood, so they've got a bit of a speedster there, and whether he's any good for him, we'll find out soon. Mitch Clark went to the Catters from Melbourne, and Lumumba went from Collingwood to Melbourne, so tough to really say who got a great win out of here, but Clark will help Hawkins.
Yeah, he will. Everyone sort of gets a player that has their risks and downfalls, obviously, because they've been traded, but they also hold a pretty good key to their side that they're going to, that they could add some really good stuff, but I think we have the best chance to get a real player out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But he could totally go bust as well, so hopefully that isn't the case. But
they're all risks, but it's just a simple three-way trade there.
Yeah.
And Reece Stanley, I was actually about to say Danny Stanley for some weird reason, but pick 21, we traded pick 21 to St Kilda to get him. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, and we do get pick 60 as well, which is just a little bit of icing there, just to sweeten the deal.
Yeah, definitely.
To be honest, I'm not a massive fan of it. I think 21's an offer in what he could produce rather than what he has so far in his 4 or whatever years. Like,
good point.
I remember listening to a game against Fremantle, I think, and Stanley, he was just everywhere. I think he took about 14 marks, 3 goals. That's
dynamic.
Yeah, that's what we hope he can do. But he probably won't be playing forward for us. That's the thing. I mean, he's been inconsistent. He has huge talent. Where that talent falls will be interesting. It won't be forward. Ruck, maybe, but we have a few stocks there. Maybe it's defence or something. It'll be intriguing as to where they look to put him, but definitely the Cats wanted him bad. That's why they gave up 21, so they must see huge upside and a definite role at our club.
Surely to pay pick 21 for that.
Yeah, you had a unique idea of where it could line up there.
Yeah, I think maybe the midfield. It sounds ridiculous, but he's an agile man, very quick. He won the grand final sprint, I think, in 2009, potentially, maybe 2010.
Yeah.
Or even earlier than that, I'm not too sure, but it was thereabouts the mark. And yeah, quick man, and he's 200 centimetres, 96 kilos thereabouts, and if he plays an outside midfield, I mean, could offer something there, but I think more than likely he'll play down back or in the ruck. So
yeah, and the meet in the middle position to be a ruckman who adds like as a fifth midfielder on the ground, just about.
Like Coxie.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely our hand was pushed a bit by giving that pick 21 up, because I think a few clubs were probably prepared to offer their late second or early third round pick. Hence, we were the keenest, and we just made sure we got the deal done, even if we played slight overs.
Yeah, who knows how that will pan out, but hopefully it all comes to fruition eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, Adelaide and Hawthorn had a bit of an exchange in the last minute, I'm pretty sure, mate. So they got pretty active right at the pointy end of it.
Yeah. Pretty
silly, but basically Adelaide got Cheney and also Loudon for picks 43 and 59. Well, I don't know, it's a bit of a stalemate there. What do you think?
Yeah, in a way it's a win-win. Sort of Cheney and Loudon weren't going to get too many games, were they, for Hawthorn?
Yeah.
So they will get the opportunity because Talia needs some help. Jacobs doesn't really need help, to be honest.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he prefers to ruck on his own, I think, and Loudon might just be a bit of insurance. But yeah, win-win there. I think Cheney in particular, he's a little undersized, but it should help them somewhat, at least to help out Talia. And
he's a competitor.
Yeah, bolster their defence a bit, but otherwise, not too much to really say there. It's like you said, a last-minute trade, and certainly far from the biggest.
Yeah, no, that's right. So we've got Carlton and GWS had a bit of an exchange. Jacks and also Wiley. Carlton gave up pick 7 to get those two guys, and also I think they got pick 19 in their favour. So Giants must have something in mind for pick 7. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I'll end up with 4, 6, and 7, I think. So.
Oh, I can see why if they did that
stuff. Yeah.
No, boy.
Yeah, I guess they lose a bit in the draft order, Carlton, but gain Jacks, who's you would imagine they'd be looking to play in defence, which he's probably played the most part in. I think he was a former pick 12. He's got a bit of talent, obviously, and then the other two, like I said, you fall back in the draft order a bit. But Wiley's a bit like Jack Crisp. You'd you don't quite know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's been compared to Anthony Miles of the Tigers this year. Could be in that mould, but I honestly haven't seen him play a game.
Saw that nice goal he kicked.
Yeah, there's not many players I haven't really seen much at all of, but he's a nice size for a midfielder. Apparently, good contested ball player, but his kicking lets him down a bit. So we'll just wait and see on that one. I think it's a good one with the pick 19 and they get a good defender. But whether Wiley's any good, we don't really know. I think pick 7 will help the Giants.
Again, proofs in the pudding in the future that we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Unless they're player for player, we can't really say.
Yeah, apples for apples, mate. Apples for apples.
Not a bag of peanuts.
No, boy, that was controversial. Ryder again getting involved.
Yeah.
Or Western rather, but the Western Bulldogs and Carlton got pretty busy trading Liam Jones from the Western Bulldogs to Carlton. They got pick 46 in return. How do you see this one, mate?
Yeah, Jones is just an absolute tease, mate. Plays the odd beauty and you think finally he's arrived. He tore us up one night. And
probably last year.
Yeah, nah. 46, it's an okay pick for him, I reckon.
It's about where he's at, or what it's worth anyway.
Yeah, the Blues have taken a bit of a risk there. Like, will he pay off? It's so hard to say. I'd say he probably won't. I don't think he's a fantastic footballer. He's a pretty iffy kick and an inconsistent player.
Yeah, that's right.
But he shows enough signs and being a key forward that he's worth that sort of risk because they're a pretty rare commodity at the moment. So I'd have to say slight win to the Dogs there, even though the pick's not that fantastic. But yeah, he's a risky player to put your hands on, Jones.
A bit like Reece Stanley, mate.
Yeah.
Both have potential, but you just never quite know what you're going to get.
Haven't shown it consistently.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Levi Greenwood, who's parted ways with North Melbourne and makes their all of a sudden trade period look a bit dim. Going to Collingwood for pick 25. Gee, I don't think it's too tough to tell here who wins.
No, exactly. I mean, they lose Beams the Pies, but get Greenwood, so it's not quite a replacement. I've heard a lot of different views on this one, so listening to Trade Radio and that. Some North fans are gutted that he's left and they're angry that they, almost comparing him to Higgins and stuff, and others are like, oh, he's slow and he's only had one good year, so it's interesting. He has only had one fantastic year, but you sort of feel like he's arrived and he's finally upgraded from a tagger.
So a consistent midfielder.
Yeah, so a good get for the Pies there. Pick 25, was it?
Yeah, it was, mate.
He's handy, but it does unravel a bit of their free agency work, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he third in best and fairest, so he certainly tore it up this year, and I thought he was going to win the best and fairest, but didn't quite get there in the end. But
no, he's a good player.
That's fine. Yeah, no, he is pretty handy to have. Gwilt and also Adam Cooney went from Gwilt from St Kilda was a delisted free agent.
Yeah. Went
straight to Essendon, so don't really know why. Maybe for Dustin Fletcher, but Adam Cooney went from the Dogs, and for pick 37 they get in return. How do you see this one? We'll see these two, I guess.
Yeah, nothing great there, I don't think. I mean, they've got their hands on Adam Cooney, who's years past his best football and has a pair of dodgy knees. I mean, he hasn't been too bad injury-wise the last couple of years, but
showing a bit of form, but
he doesn't have that explosive speed and that he once did, and he's not a player that won a Brownlow medal. Pick 37, it's that mid-range pick. It's hard to gauge there, and James Gwilt got the cut from the worst team in the league, so
yikes, not where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, he's an alright player, and probably he's forced to play a lot bigger than himself at the Saints, so he might benefit. He might turn out to be a handy third defender, but on paper it's kind of a useless two exchanges there really for where the Bombers are at.
Yeah, well, they're not contending or anything.
No.
And even if they were, you wouldn't get James Gwilt on your side.
No, exactly. And you feel like Cooney's the sort of player you take a risk, maybe bring it to a Hawthorn or maybe Fremantle or something like that, just to maybe top up, and it's worth that risk.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't see the Bombers making top 4 this year or next, but
yeah. Well, that's some good thoughts there, mate.
Thanks, mate. Bit of a whack to the Bombers if they haven't had enough already this week.
Yeah, it was a bit of a nothing trade, as you just mentioned. So, and one of the biggest ones of trade period, Boyd has gone from GWS to the Dogs, and Griffin and and also pick 6. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. Went to GWS. So
Massive trade.
When he's getting $1 million a year from playing 9 games and kicking 8 goals, it certainly says a lot of what they see in him, and I can see why they've done it. But we'll hear from you first.
Yeah, we can have a bit of a discussion on this one. I think it was the biggest trade of the period, you would have to say, and the most unexpected, really. But I can see both sides of it here, but I'll give the win to the Giants, I think. I mean, it is tough to say. I think I said the Dogs before when we were
I can't remember, actually.
Yeah, like I said, I can see
you
both
did say
sides.
The Dogs, yeah.
Like I can see that getting Boyd is just fantastic, but as you just said, he hasn't shown anything of substance, so you're paying a bloke $1 million a year on what you don't really know.
Yeah.
But his potential is so huge. I mean, he could be the next Wayne Carey, or he could be the next Jack Watts. You just don't know. Well, Jack Watts was pick 1, and there's heaps of hype just because you have that pick 1 next to your name.
Exactly, yeah.
Where the Giants get Griffin, who'll be fantastic alongside Ward and a few other mids they have.
Yeah.
But gee, it's tough to say, isn't it? Pick 6, that's great.
Exactly, yeah.
But Griffin is 28, 29-ish, so
getting there, yeah.
it's hard to see that he'll really be peaking at when they're winning premierships, you would think. But
you have to be about 33 before that happens, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Before they're going really well, but
I guess I'll say the Dogs win this one marginally. I just don't like them paying such huge money for a guy that's virtually untried. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a bit mixed, but I think the Giants win this maybe just. I mean, Tom Boyd, he wasn't really wanted at the club. A few whispers there that he wasn't really part of the culture and wasn't quite liked around the group, but. And this might be for another video too, but I don't see why players go to, or teams pick players from other states and knowing that they'll eventually come back home. I guess this ties in with free agency, which we might discuss pretty shortly in another video.
Yeah.
I don't know why they bother doing, because he was always probably wanting to go back home. So yeah, but
just don't know, do you?
No, we don't. So, but yeah, I mean they get a pretty experienced midfielder, and you have to say he's probably in the top 20 best midfielders in the competition. I'm not counting who's better than who, but
no, definitely.
And pick 6, and they can get someone similar to Tom Boyd with pick 6. I think, providing McCartan, he'll go probably earlier than pick 6, but
yeah,
they can get someone of similar hype. So yeah, I don't think it's a great loss for the Giants. Well, it is, but yeah, and I think the Doggies I think they've wanted that big key forward, that young big key forward for so long. I mean, I've looked back and I think Jade Rawlings is probably. Chris Grant, I don't know if Luke Darcy played full forward. Probably not as
Barry Hall was the last one they truly had that was, again, they got him in.
So. Yeah, and he was sort of Scott Welsh. It was another, and they were blokes at the end of their career. So
yeah.
It was just a bit of a band-aid at the peak of their powers, I guess.
And we mentioned Jones before. He's failed at the Dogs, and Joe Grant was pick 5, considered to be a forward, and couldn't put an ounce of muscle on to save his life, so he failed as well. So I guess Boyd's the saviour. There's going to be massive pressure, and also massive pressure on the Giants to keep some of the young players, Treloar and Shield, just to name a couple, who might be doing a Tom Boyd next year as well.
You never know.
You just don't know.
It's going to be an intriguing year and a half coming up. But it's always intriguing in footy, I must say. There's never a dull moment.
No.
And the final one, Mitch Hallahan went from Hawthorn to Gold Coast, I think for picks 47 and 49. I think they picked Mitch pretty cheap here, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what happens when you're such a good side is you have quality players, like the few Hawks we mentioned before, who just aren't going to get an opportunity, but probably would in half the other sides. And Hallahan's one of them. He's tough. He won the VFL equivalent to the Brownlow, I guess it would be 2 years ago, along with Schroeder. And, someone else too. But yeah, it's probably a win-win here, because Hawthorn get a couple of picks, which will be handy. And Hallahan should probably see senior action nearly every week, you'd have to think.
Yeah, well, with Gold Coast and the emerging midfield, I think it'll be tough for him to maybe find a spot in there too, because there's so much class in the middle. Swallow, Prestia, Ablett, of course.
He adds that tougher edge, though. I think that I feel that Gold Coast are very good on the outside, most of their players, whether that's because their bodies are still really getting to that hardened AFL footballer status yet. But Hallahan's had plenty of years in the system, and he'll be right in the mix. He won't be a walk-up start, but he's a very good player.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely help him. But yeah, that's pretty much the wrap-up of the second week of the trade period. Shorty, any thoughts on the Catters, mate? Not too sure if we're going to mention too much about Geelong, but...
yeah, I mean, we covered them relatively in depth there. We touched on Clark last week. The Stanley one, I think it's alright that Varco left. That's okay. That's a win-win. He should play better footy. Hurts a lot to lose Christensen.
Yeah.
Stanley adds the X factor, as does Clark. So,
who knows what could happen.
I do like that we got pick 10. That's something we actually may have forgot to mention, I think.
Yeah, traded pick 14 for pick 10 with Adelaide, and also pick 35 back to 47 for us.
Yeah, and I feel that suggests that we have someone in mind in that top bracket of youngsters, because it obviously says that, you know, that player that they want, or maybe two players they feel won't slip, you know, an extra 4 places. They might not even slip till 10, but they must have a couple in mind that they feel they will snare, because they'll drop back 12 later on. But it's a pretty open draft apparently after sort of 15 onwards. Could be a few surprises, but
there you go.
A nice move in top 10 pick. So yeah, it's exciting on the 27th of November.
Yeah, you'll be all over that, mate, and I don't know if I will be.
No, you're not a real big draft man, but
I don't know
I'll
why.
probably take the night off work. Hopefully no one's watching this.
Oh boy, well I'll share it onto you all now, mate, just so everyone sees. But that's the wrap up of the trade period. It's done and dusted now, and as Shorty just mentioned, draft's coming up soon, so get on to that and see what surprises come up. But I don't think there'll be too much surprise with either Kristen Petraka or McCartan, number 1 pick. Maybe a few others, but we'll go with those two because those are the ones that have been mentioned the most.
Yeah, they seem like it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's a wrap up once again. We have to wrap it up about 3 times.
Yeah, I know.
We love a bit of a yarn, so yeah, feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to share it around to your mates and subscribe to us and all that fantastic stuff. Twitter, follow us on that. And gee, I'm just talking randomly here, so
just the usual suspects.
Just the usual suspects. Yeah, right onto it, Shorty. All right, thanks heaps for sticking around, guys, and we'll see you all soon.